Number 1. The monkey mirror. You're not mad because they hurt you. You're mad because they reminded you of someone who hurt you 5 years ago. Someone you never punched back. This is the monkey brain. It doesn't do diplomacy. It does pattern recognition with a dash of revenge. In psychology, this is called emotional tagging. Your brain links current threats to unresolved past pain. Suddenly, your coworker becomes your childhood bully. Your neighbor sounds like that teacher who mocked your accent. And nations. They're just groups of emotionally tagged people in suits. History agrees. Take World War I. One guy gets shot, Franz Ferdinand, and suddenly, 30 nations are in the trenches. Why? Because alliances weren't just political, they were psychological dominoes. Austria felt humiliated, Serbia felt cornered, Russia felt loyal, Germany felt proud, France felt threatened, and Britain felt late to the party. One wounded ego activated a chain of tribal memories stretching back centuries. This is the glitch. We think we're responding to now, but we're reacting to then. Humans don't just fight because of resources. They fight to settle the ghost debts of identity. So how do you break it? Not with bombs. With curiosity. Literally, curiosity shrinks the emotional amygdala reaction in the brain. Asking, what pain might they be carrying, is like handing your lizard brain a juice box and telling it to sit in the corner. You stop seeing an enemy. You start seeing a human. A messy, historical, poorly parented, easily triggered human. Just like you. Wars don't start with guns. They start with assumptions. Number 2. Enemy addiction. Let's get something straight. Your brain loves having enemies. It's basically emotional caffeine. Enemies give you a plot, a purpose, a clean-cut villain you can point to when life feels chaotic. That's why dictators love making someone. The problem, it's the psychological equivalent of clickbait. Doesn't matter if it's the foreigners, the neighbors, or a girl group from another village. If it twitches and breathes, we can blame it. Psychologists call this externalization. You take your internal junk, shame, frustration, fear, and slap it onto someone else's forehead. Suddenly, you're a patriot, a protector, a very serious person. Meanwhile, your childhood trauma just got rebranded as national security policy. Consider North Korea. Its entire political strategy is built on we versus them. Every problem, food shortages, isolation, economic collapse, is pinned on enemies who don't understand us, but zoom in close. And what do you see? A system built on fear of shame, rejection, and being forgotten. Because here's the truth, enemy addiction is a coping mechanism for not knowing who you are without conflict. The fix, identity without enemies. Think of the Scandinavian model, not perfect, but interesting. Instead of boiling their national pride in centuries-old feuds, they built it on education, empathy, and solace. Instead of fueling the identity machine with anger, they used shared childcare and IKEA. Weird flex, but it works. You don't need an enemy to feel important. You just need a better story. Number 3. Group brain, no break. Imagine you're in a crowd. Everyone's chanting, the flags are waving, the drums are beating like a collective heartbeat, and suddenly, your individual IQ drops by 30 points. That's not a joke. That's mob psychology. When humans group up, their brains wire together in a process called emotional contagion. Fear spreads, anger multiplies, doubt gets kicked out of the party. What's left? One enormous, loud, highly confident idiot with thousands of legs and zero chill. This is how crowds cheer for war, before they know who they're fighting or why. In 2003, millions cheered the Iraq invasion because it felt righteous. The group brain had one thought, justice. But no one paused to ask, what if we're just really loud and really wrong? Turns out, that's exactly what happened. The group brain has no brakes. It has dopamine, flags, and maybe a national anthem remix, but breaks not included. Here's the deeper issue. Our ancestors evolved in tribes of 150 people max. Your brain was never designed to process televised conflict with global consequences. It was designed to notice that Fred the Spearmaker looked kind of suspicious this week. So when we join massive political movements, our brains think we're in a cozy bonfire circle making a group decision. But what we're actually doing is giving up independent thought for the safety of belonging. Want to break the glitch? Don't ask the group what it thinks. Ask it what it's afraid of. Fear is always behind the curtain. And when you name it, the illusion fades. Groupthink loses its power the moment someone whispers, hey, are we sure this isn't just panic in costume? You're not weak for leaving the crowd. You're just using your prefrontal cortex, the part designed for long-term peace, not short-term applause. Number 4. The hero illusion. You want to be the hero, so does everyone else. And that's the problem. The hero illusion is one of the most dangerous psychological glitches in human history. It's the idea that your side is righteous, moral, and necessary, and anyone who opposes it is evil, brainwashed, or worse, inconvenient to your destiny. It's the myth of the just war, the holy crusade, the liberator's mission, and it feels so good. Your brain bathes in serotonin every time someone confirms you're the good guy, but history doesn't remember good guys the way they imagine. Napoleon thought he was spreading enlightenment. The US thought it was saving Vietnam from communism. Russia thought it was saving Ukraine from fascists. What they were really doing was projecting an inner fantasy onto a global map, then dropping bombs on people who didn't share the dream. That's the glitch. We fight not to destroy, but to complete our own story. Psychologists call this motivated reasoning. You find evidence to support what you already believe and discard everything that threatens your moral self-image. It's not logic, it's ego maintenance. And yes, it feels amazing. Want to break it? You have to let go of being the hero. Instead, be the listener. Be the person who can sit with complexity. Who asks, what if we're both partly right and mostly scared? It won't earn you statues, but it will save lives, because the moment you stop needing to be a savior, you stop needing someone to save against. Peace doesn't come from silence. It comes from surrendering the fantasy that violence will write your happy ending. Number 5. Pride with a death wish. Let's talk about national pride, the kind that would rather burn down a village than admit it made a mistake. Your brain does this too. It's called cognitive dissonance. When facts threaten your self-image, your brain chooses the image, not the truth. You double down, you rationalize, you dig a hole, decorate it, and call it honor. Countries do the same thing, but with tanks. Japan, 1945, the war was clearly lost. Cities were rubble, millions were dead, and food was vanishing. But surrender, that would mean losing face, the deepest cultural shame. So they held on until the US dropped two atomic bombs. Because pride doesn't just cloud judgment, it kills. And here's the kicker. Your nervous system is wired to interpret loss of pride as literal death. That's right. Being humiliated activates the same pain pathways as physical injury. So when nations feel humiliated, they don't ask, how do we fix this? They ask, how do we make someone else feel worse than we do? Breaking this glitch means decoupling pride from violence. It means teaching leaders and ourselves that losing an argument isn't losing your identity. That shame isn't fatal. That humility doesn't make you weak. It makes you safe to others. Germany post-WWII is a masterclass. Instead of glorifying defeat or rewriting history, they stared their shame in the face. They banned Nazi propaganda. They taught the Holocaust in schools. They remembered, not to relive it, but to never forget why it mattered. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is say, we were wrong. It's also the most strategic. Number 6. The screen between us. You don't invade someone you love, but you can destroy someone you've dehumanized, especially when all you see is a screen. Here's the glitch. Modern warfare doesn't look like war. It looks like drones from 8,000 miles away. It looks like headlines and hashtags. It looks like collateral damage and surgical strikes and photos filtered through patriotism. You don't see the kid bleeding in a stairwell. You see a pixelated heat signature on a monitor. Welcome to psychological distance. The trick your brain plays to reduce empathy. The further someone is from your life, your culture, your family photo album, the easier it is to ignore their pain. It's a survival tool, sure, but it's also a genocide enabler, and it's getting worse. Studies show that people exposed to constant, filtered violence on screens become emotionally numb, not because they're evil, but because their nervous systems can't process real suffering in high definition every day. It's called compassion fatigue. You see too much, so you feel nothing. Think of the 1990s Rwanda genocide. Western media barely covered it until it was too late. Why? Because it didn't fit the narrative. Too distant, too complex, too uncomfortable. So we turned off the TV and went to dinner. But when people did see, like during Vietnam, when photos of napalm burned children hit front pages, public support crumbled. Because humans aren't heartless, they're just buffered by screens, language, and mental walls. To break this glitch, we have to shorten the distance. We have to name people, show faces, tell stories, replace targets with mothers, replace regime change with sons who will never come home. Peace doesn't come from shutting off the screen, it comes from breaking through it. An enemy is someone whose story you haven't heard. Gene Knudsen Hoffman.